Welcome back to the Cruise Dynasty podcast. We are back at it again, dropping that content, doing what we do, recording. Got the Craft Man with me. What's up, Craft Man?
Nothing much, man. Same old thing. We just getting ready to talk about these QBs. I've been excited about this episode for a little while, so I'm ready to hop right on into it, man.
Yeah, we just gonna break it down. Like, I guess I'll just say it like this. Myself, and I would say Craft Man, are not the most analytical guys. I'd say Craft's a little more analytical than I am, though. But being the Craft Man, we decided, hey, fuck all that eye test shit for today. We're going to just look at these numbers. We get the spreadsheets out, get the charts out. In fact, me and Craft was calculating shit before this episode. We're minusing, subtracting, and dividing. Oh man, breaking down the numbers. We just gonna I don't even know, crack the code on these quarterbacks, man. Or I don't know if crack the code is the right thing, but we definitely gonna just look and see what's the deal with quarterback position. How can we get that advantage in our dynasty leagues and redraft today? Not to say we're starting redraft content, but we're just gonna kind of check it out. What else is there to say about this shit, Craft?
Yeah, I don't know if the folks would call this analytics or just research and statistics, because we're not talking like yards per pass attempt around here. We're not talking yards per drop back or whatever statistics they got out there. This is just some research that I have been curious about myself, that I've been wanting to do for years and years, to try to figure out, like, is it good to draft a quarterback early in the top 2 rounds in redraft? What are we doing with the young quarterbacks in Dynasty? Should we be patient with them? When should we give up? So this is the research I wanted to do, is how long do you hang on to these guys? Where do they peak? And where do you want to draft them at that makes sense to win your league? So that's the kind of research I wanted to get done this week.
Right, so this episode a little bit different than what we usually do, so who knows what the fuck this episode is going to sound like. I mean, I was trying to explain to Kraft what I researched. I didn't even know how to say that shit. I was just like, but
we'll get through it. We'll get through it at some point today. Just stick with us.
Somehow I came to a conclusion, you know what I mean? But real quick, 5-star review. Add me on Twitter at Hamm. Add the Craftman Pack Fan. Craft, I say we just started off from the top. I say dynasty wise. Break it down that way first. Then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's go ahead and break down the dynasty side of these quarterbacks.
All right. Well, what you got for me, Craft Man?
Dude, out of the stuff I've been looking up, I wanted to first look and just see, because everybody tells you rookie quarterbacks don't perform. They don't perform their first year. I wanted to make sure that was true. I always thought it was. And from what I've seen so far, everything checks out. So one of the things I did, I went all the way back to 2013. So 10-year sample size of rookie quarterbacks drafted. And in that 10-year sample, there were 33 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round. And only 3 of them quarterbacks out of 33 have been a top 12 quarterback in their rookie year. That's not great, but right. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is, when you draft a rookie quarterback, you might as well just say, I'm not going to have the guy this year, and you need to be patient with him, because out of some of the other research I've done, I said only 3 quarterbacks finished top 12. But 14 out of 33 quarterbacks have finished at the top 12 by their 3rd year in the league. So that number jumped drastically after their rookie year. So we're almost looking at half of the quarterbacks drafted in the first round was a QB1 for your dynasty team within 3 years. And that's kind of what we want to look at. And if it doesn't happen before then, if it's 3 years and they're still meddling along, most of the time it doesn't really, that player's just not what you've expected him to be. So like an Anthony Richardson this year, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, just be patient. We try to tell people buy the dip. Buy the dip when these rookie quarterbacks struggle. And I'm trying to tell dynasty managers to not sell these quarterbacks because these first 2 years are going to be rough. And if you're a good fantasy player, you can go out there and try to snag these quarterbacks while they're struggling because it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. So for those of y'all who think Anthony Richardson's about to ball out, the Craft Man is saying, hell nah, that ain't happening. Your best ball leagues. Heck, I've even taken Anthony Richardson to the best ball league. Now I'm realizing that shit ain't happening.
While we at it, do you want to try to guess the 3 quarterbacks that finished in the top 12 their rookie year? In their rookie year.
Man, that one's tough. That's tough. Was Lamar up in there?
Nope. Not his rookie year.
Man, just go ahead. There ain't no way I can guess it.
Kyler was QB6 in 2019. Justin Herbert was QB9 in 2020, and Dak Prescott was QB7 in 2016.
The GOAT.
That's it.
Well, shoot, and 2 of those are just kind of recent,
Yep.
So
2 of them are recent. So I don't know how you want to take that. I mean, players are ready to come into the league sooner and sooner, it seems like, especially at quarterback and receivers nowadays than they used to be. So it doesn't take them quite as long.
So we'll definitely be checking out. We'll have to research this in like 5 years from now and see if rookie quarterbacks are just balling out, like Caleb Williams coming in. But I mean, like, just think about it. Think about Trevor Lawrence, and all the hype. I mean, he was like one of the top 4 prospects of all time. We're talking about up there with like John Elway, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck type shit. And then there was Trevor Lawrence, and he was terrible his first year. I mean, the Jaguars were just ass, but
Yeah. Jalen Hurts was not good his first year. He was, he really wasn't good at all.
Right.
So, I mean, it doesn't happen that often where rookie quarterbacks really come in there and win your dynasty leagues right away. Once you draft a rookie quarterback, if you take them over these guys in the second round, like a Dak or a Kyler or who else, Deshaun Watson's going in that range, just know that you're punting the position for maybe 3 years when you make that move.
Right. Yeah. In some situations, people are drafting these rookie quarterbacks to be their quarterback 1. So, I mean, you really need to be patient.
It's just like an early approach when you do something like that and you make that move, you make your call that early, you're kind of setting the rest of the team up to go in a certain direction. You draft CJ Stroud or Bryce Young in the second round, you can't really come back from that in a Superflex league and say, "Oh, I'm going for it this year." You've already told me that you're not.
So pretty much with those numbers right there you just brought up, the moral of the story is either you got to be patient. If you didn't draft one of these rookie quarterbacks, go ahead and buy the dip if you want to. Wait, because that's the thing about these fantasy managers. Like, they're not going to be patient. A lot of these guys ain't going to be patient. It's like that with the tight end position too. Like, I haven't broke down tight ends or anything yet, but like, say you drafted like Trey McBride last year, he was ass, I guess. I mean, he wasn't all that, but I mean, if you really drafted Trey McBride, you really need to be patient for like 3 to 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Type deal like that. But, be patient with these quarterbacks. If you drafted a quarterback high in your startups, buy the dip. And then as far as redraft goes, I'm staying away, period. Like, I'm not drafting a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I don't blame you either. I haven't decided to take a rookie that early because I'm not ready to, like I said, I'm not ready to give up this year in a startup draft that I'm just starting and say, hey, I want to wait 2 or 3 years and just see if this guy's good, because I said 14 out of 33. That's still not even 50% of these rookie quarterbacks that are even hitting top 12 in a single year. This isn't even every year. This is 1 year in their career that they have to reach top 12. So it's not very hard criteria to meet. And not even 50% of them are even meeting that criteria. So it could not work out at all.
Yep, true. Well, what else? You got any more of those numbers in your little book over there?
Got them in the tablet, but I looked up while I was doing that, looking at all the recent drafts and the recent picks in the past 10 years, and I wanted to also look up what quarterbacks have succeeded that didn't get drafted in the second round. So went back 2013, 10-year sample size again. There's been 83 quarterbacks drafted in the second round or later, from second round to seventh round, since 2013. This isn't counting the 2023 draft because we don't know if these guys are good or not. So I just didn't include this recent draft. So 83 QBs, only 3 quarterbacks have had any fantasy relevance at all drafted in the second round all the way to the seventh round. And that's Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Derek Carr. That's the only 3 quarterbacks out of 83 who have done anything for your Dynasty fantasy teams in the past 10 years that didn't get drafted in the first.
I got one more for you, though. I feel like you missed one. What about old Captain Kirk Cousins?
Did Kirk get drafted in the second or later?
I think it was the 4th round. He drafted the same year as RG3.
Was he?
I believe that's true.
How old is Kirk Cousins?
It might have went back.
It might have went back to like 2012 if that's.
Oh hell! You know what? I think you're right about that.
From 2013 on, he might have been drafted in like 2012.
Well, then I stand corrected, then, Crap, because I do think you're right about that too.
And but out of them, there's been a couple quarterbacks that had some good games, like good stretches, or even one good season, like Geno Smith. He was a second rounder. Brock Purdy, whatever. He had 5 games last year. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't really. I wouldn't say he's won anybody any championships.
Right.
So, I mean, we're talking about guys this year to make it relevant. We're talking about Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell this year.
Right.
And it happens every single year. Oh, this guy. Oh, and Brock Purdy. We're talking about Brock Purdy also. And every year we're like, oh, this guy, he might have it, he might have it, he might have it. But 3 out of 83 is not good if you're looking for a contributor for your fantasy team. And yeah, there's some diamonds in the rough like Jalen Hurts who worked out great. But
right,
if you're a numbers guy and you want to play the numbers game, unless you see something just great watching football out of the quarterback, which I don't know if you have. I hadn't seen that much out of Ridder or Howell.
I mean, I watched Howell play, but the thing is, I've been guilty this year of being optimistic about all 3 of those guys you just talked about. Heck, I've sent out trade offers to try to get those guys. So, yeah, hey, I'm with you. I mean, I'm a Falcons fan, so you know how Falcons fans are down here. They're just going to hate the quarterback no matter what. So I'm willing to give Desmond Ridder a chance. But you're right. Like, if we're just talking about the odds, and heck, if we're just talking about the way I think, I really don't think deep down it's going to work out with Ridder like that. I think we're going to be a middle of the road type deal. Sam Howell, though, I don't know, man. Sam Howell might have to start checking our eye test a little bit. I think Sam Howell looks okay sometimes. So
I guess we'll see. But these guys, it's different with quarterbacks. When you're not drafted in the first round, you don't have a long leash to perform, right. And that's one of the main things is you go out there and struggle for 5 games and they pull you. You might not ever see the field again. But a first rounder, especially an early first rounder, you got a very long leash and you can have multiple years of playing terrible football and still get a shot.
Like Carson Wentz.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Yep, you're right. Make no stink about it. These guys, Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell, if they struggle through 4 games, they're on the bench. And Heineke's going to be up in there.
And they might not get another shot again. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're in the startup draft, unless you really have real strong conviction about these guys and you're a fan, you like watching them play because fantasy's fun. Draft the players you want to watch play. That's all good, but just maybe go with a guy who's proven it that might be older that can actually help you win, like a Matthew Stafford or I hate to say like a Ryan Tannehill that might play a full year this year. And
Mac
Geno,
Jones.
Mac Jones, Jared Goff. Draft guys like that instead of taking the shot on a 3 out of 83 chance that this guy's going to hit.
So, Kraft, is basically what you telling me that Will Levis ain't gonna work out this year? Is that
Will
what you're
Levis,
saying?
I don't think Will Levis is going to work out. I don't know. If he'd got drafted at the 101, I'd still say I don't think Will Levis is going to work out. So,
it's funny because reports are that Malik Willis has outperformed Will Levis, but Malik Willis might get cut because what was he, like a 5th round draft pick or something like that? Or
I think
it
he
was
was in the
crazy.
third.
What's crazy is they were acting like this dude could be like top 2 or top 4 at one point.
Yeah. But didn't seem to work out, though, for Will Levis. But he's going to have an opportunity, but it might be one of the things where he ain't going to have a long leash either. You can imagine if Malik Willis got drafted in the first round, there's no way they'd have played him for one game last year and then not ever play him again.
Right.
You just don't get a chance.
I mean, they picked up Josh Dobbs off the street and just said, here, you going to... In fact, they was trying to make the playoffs and still was like, Josh Dobbs, get your ass over here.
Draft capital is one of the most important things in Dynasty, I feel like. And I know a lot of people disagree, but just say go to running backs. If you're a 5th round running back, you carry the ball, your very first 5 carries, you fumble, you might not ever see the field again. If you're a 1st round, 2nd round running back and you fumble in your first 5 carries, you're most likely going to get plenty more opportunities. But
I'm going to do the work on running backs. I got questions about how we look at running backs going forward because none of these guys get drafted high now. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to break it down. Hey, tune in for the running back show.
I mean, everybody acts like with running backs that they have a short shelf life and they don't last long, but we've been seeing the same damn names in the top 10 for the last 7 years.
Right.
With the same offenders, with your Saquons and your Ecklers and, list goes on and on. Chubb.
Heck, even Dalvin Cook was 11. I seen that, Alvin Kamara was like running back 16 or something last year.
McCaffrey. They all been in there forever.
Yeah. Aaron Jones been around for a while.
Have been in there. Longer than these receivers. Like, you got a Devontae Adams who's been in there a while, and I mean, Diggs. There's just new receivers that jump in there every year. But this running back core that's came through the last 5 years has just been consistent every year.
Right. Agreed.
We can't help ourselves, man. We can't help ourselves talk about running backs on a QB episode.
I know, right? You got any more? I know you got more for me, Kraft. What you got in that book?
Dude, that's all I got as far as like draft capital goes and what to expect out of these guys like your Desmond Ritters and your Sam Howells. And I mean, one breakthrough every now and again that gets drafted in the 2nd round or later, but it just doesn't seem that common. And if you want to take a chance, I don't even know what the percentage is. Somebody'd have to do it, but 3 out of 83 is not a very good percent chance. Probably around 5% chance that quarterback hits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's tough. So basically, the moral of the story of that one is if you buying into Will Levis, you just need to ship him off. But I can't even say sell high because I don't even think you could do that. But heck, I drafted Will Levis like when that startup we did. I mean, Will Levis he just dropped so far.
Yeah.
Just had to take him. I mean, I'm all about taking shots on quarterbacks, but I mean, what's another one like Hendon Hooker? I think he was drafted in the 2nd this year. I was kind of thinking of it. He got a good little spot going to Detroit, but if you think about it, when Detroit decides to move on from Jared Goff, they're probably just going to try their best to get one of these top, heck, if they shit the bed this year, they're going to go out there and try to get them Drake May or whatever. They're not going to give a fuck about Hendon Hooker. So, although I do like Hendon Hooker. So, it's funny, all these backs that we talked about, I'm like, dang, I like these guys. But
hey, one thing that made me happy when I did the research is that Jordan Love was a first round pick. So it seems like he has a much better chance to perform.
What about his leash though? Probably ain't gonna be too long. Well, I mean, it will be for this year, but
at least a full year, maybe 2, just depending on how bad it is.
Yeah.
But if he goes out and puts up a Trevor Lawrence rookie year, I don't know if he gets another shot like that because he's not the prospect that Trevor Lawrence is.
Right. Well, shoot. I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about these numbers that I dug into, man. If you want to, Kraft, you want me to go ahead and slide to my side?
Yep, do it. I done ran out of breath. I've been talking so damn much. So it's your turn now.
Man, shoot. All right. So Kraft, man, he was diving deep on quarterbacks. I was like, I gotta dive deep on quarterbacks too. This one right here is a little more redraft wise because I've been, heck, I hadn't been playing too much redraft, but I was into redraft for the Kraft man last year, and heck, I've been hopping in best ball this year. And I guess what really got me going was, this is no joke, Kraft. I did a best ball the other day, and 3 quarterbacks went to second round, and I was like, what the fuck? I was thinking like, is this crazy? Is it not? Like my initial reaction is because these quarterbacks did pretty good. Like 2 of them scored over 400 points last year. Jalen Hurts had over 380. So I was like, maybe there's like a little bit of an overcorrection on the quarterback market in best ball / redraft. I know best ball is a little bit different, but so basically I just started writing. I'm just looking up stuff. I'm looking at the quarterbacks who finished at the top, and I'm checking out their ADPs and all that shit. And I wrote down so much shit I just don't even know what to say. But basically to sum it all up, like in 2022 last year, 4 of the top 5 scorers were quarterbacks, and in 2021, 4 of the top 5 scorers were quarterbacks, and in 2020, 4 of the top 5 scorers were quarterbacks. 8 out of the top 10 scorers were quarterbacks of that year. 2019 was 3 of 5, but I think that might have been that year Christian McCaffrey went the fuck off. Was that 2019? I think that was that same year. So basically I was like, all right, well, let's just see how many points these quarterbacks are really scoring and shit. So Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, they scored over 400 points. And then Josh Allen 21 scored over 400 points. Josh Allen scored over 400 points in 2020, and then 2019 was just ridiculous. Lamar Jackson scored 421, and Dak Prescott was 2, and he only scored 348 points, which was fucking insane. So if you drafted Lamar Jackson, and that year in ADP, he was going at the beginning of the 9th round, he was going 902, the quarterback 11. So basically, that draft pick alone right there, as long as you didn't fuck up crazy on those first 8 rounds, you pretty much won your leagues right there. But basically, I was looking at these quarterbacks. I'm like, damn, Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be at the top all the time. I'm like, why ain't we just drafting him in the first round? You know what I'm saying? Like, not to say that I would ever do it, but I was just like, hell, he scores the most. Why ain't we just drafting him in the, 105 and all that shit? But real quick, before I keep going, Kraft, mark my words. Before I die, I'm 29 years old today. Before I die, we will be taking quarterbacks in the first round at some point. I guarantee you, man.
We won't.
Me and you won't, yeah. The first years, in 2018, Aaron Rodgers went at the 307. Even when I was playing redraft all these years, you never drafted quarterbacks high. Like, yeah, it was just ridiculous to see somebody do it. But starting in 2019, these jokers are going in the second round, like Patrick Mahomes, and then eventually Josh Allen. Last year Justin Herbert, he went in the second round. He finished at quarterback 10. Oh well, last year he went at the 309. So I don't know. Basically, I was
everybody up.
Yeah, if you drafted Justin Herbert last year, you lost. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. So as I was looking at these numbers, I'm looking at the points. Basically, the conclusion I came to. What was that conclusion? I don't know. Let me check. Nah, I'm just kidding. QBs, they score more points, obviously. So basically, what I was thinking is, I looked it up. I said, I just looked it up. I was just like, if you drafted, say, the QB1 that year, are you winning your fantasy leagues? You know what I'm saying? Did I word that right? Are you winning your
Yeah.
fantasy leagues drafting the quarterback one? Basically, in PPR leagues, 18% of people who drafted Patrick Mahomes, or who was it last year? Was
This is my
Patrick
home.
Mahomes the number one?
Yeah.
Well, nah, if you drafted Josh Allen at the QB1 209, you only won 18% of your leagues. In standard leagues, it was a little bit higher, 32. But who the fuck plays standard leagues? You know what I'm saying? So basically, with all that research I did and everything that I went through, ADPs, this is the strategy you got to do to draft quarterbacks to win. The highest scoring QB only won 18%. So the goal of the draft is to draft your quarterbacks at a lower ADP, but you want your quarterback to be the highest scoring player on your team. So basically, like in 2020, Josh Allen, he was the highest scoring player on your team for sure because he was the QB1 no matter what. He was drafted in the 9th round. He was the QB11. So I'm checking out, I'm looking at ADPs and best ball, right? So what's the pocket that I think where you could draft high wide receivers, you could go get you a running back in the first 3 rounds. So basically, this is the pocket right here. We always talk about pockets we like to draft in. This is the quarterback pocket that I want to draft in next year. Justin Fields in the 5th round, Justin Herbert in the 5th round, Trevor Lawrence in the 6th. If you want to go a little bit further, you can go Deshaun Watson in the late 7th. If you want to go even further, maybe 2 in the 8th if you're just reaching a little bit. So basically, my conclusion is I don't want to go great at quarterback and I don't want to go late at quarterback. I want to go right there in the middle, and I want my quarterback to be the highest scoring player on my team. So then when I go and draft Justin Jefferson, we was crunching numbers earlier. Justin Jefferson, he had a great year last year. He was the wide receiver 1. You know, you're not going to win your league if he's your best player. You know what I'm saying? Well, maybe you will, but
Well, I mean, I got a little pushback with the Mahomes because you said 18% of teams won with Mahomes in their lineup last year. That doesn't seem like a lot, but do you know what the normal chance in a 12-man league is? It's an 8% chance that you're going to win. 1 out of 10 people is, a 10% chance that you're going to win your league before the draft even starts. So I would actually say that 18% is pretty damn good. But that's if you have Mahomes. But also, we're going back so many years where the quarterback 1 is not even that predictable. These guys, like you said, Lamar Jackson in 2019, Josh Allen in 2020. And then you have your Mahomes and Mahomes and Josh Allen have been swapping. They've been in the top 5 for like the past 3 years. So you know what you're getting. But the teams that win the championships the most, I would love to go back and see in 2019 what percentage of teams that had Lamar Jackson won, because it was probably in the 30 percentile that
I'm just
won
gonna
that
be
league.
honest. I'm just gonna be honest. It was probably way higher than 30
Yeah,
percentile when you look at these numbers. But what I'm saying is you weren't drafting him at quarterback 1.
yeah,
You were drafting him at quarterback 11.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
If you're
yeah. I mean,
drafting Mahomes every year, I feel like you're not winning your 18% out of however many leagues they did.
yeah.
Whatever, 200. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just like I think after when I look at these numbers, I don't want to go great at the quarterback, but I don't want to go late neither. Because unless you get lucky and you pick up Geno Smith, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
To me, like I don't know. I feel like people are saying, a lot of these analysts. I feel like the culture now is switching to where we're taking quarterbacks higher. But I don't know if I'm even buying into that yet, because I would still rather just take these upside guys in the 5th or 6th round, who I think could for real finish. I mean, I'm already crunching my redraft numbers now. I got Herbert and Lawrence high. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, I've
Higher
got
than some of these guys who they got in who are going above them in ADP.
yeah, and the main way you win a redraft league in fantasy football is to get value and have the player outperform their ADP. I heard this on, I think it was the Footballers, but the number one player rostered last year in most of championship teams was Josh Jacobs. He was the number one player on whatever teams he was on, they won the most. Let's just say it like that.
Right.
So, and he was like a 4th, 5th round pick. So it's not your first round picks that win it. It's not your second round picks that win it. Like Mahomes in the second, he's not going to win you your championship, even if he is the QB
Right.
one. You got to hit on these guys later. And when we go back and look at the quarterbacks that did finish QB one that were drafted 9th round, 8th round, your Josh Allens, they have one thing in common, and it's rushing upside. You can play it safe and have Kirk Cousins as your QB1 this year, but just go ahead and tell yourself that most likely you're going to be in the bottom half of your league in quarterback play. He has no rushing upside, and me
Hold
and
on,
you
real
both.
quick. Rushing upside, or if you throw a fuck ton of touchdown passes, you gotta have a lot though.
You got to have a lot. Like we went back, looked Mahomes last year, and to finish around this number, to finish as a QB1 as a straight up pocket passer, you're going to have about 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, which is a freaking incredible year. And
Right.
Mahomes had 5,250 yards last year, over 40 touchdowns. And Justin Fields finished as a QB7 last year with 2,240 passing yards and 17 passing touchdowns. So Mahomes outscored him a lot, but if you were to tell yourself, like you said, the pocket this year, Justin Fields, players like that, if Justin Fields can jump up to 28 touchdowns, passing
Right.
touchdowns this year, and rush for close to 1,000 yards again, he could finish as a QB1. But when you're drafting late round quarterbacks, those are the ones you want to go for as the rushing upside
So
guys.
basically, if you draft in that pocket, if Justin Fields throws touchdown passes this year, if his passing game improves, he's basically your QB league winner. I ain't saying you're gonna win the league, but like he's basically league winning material. And Trevor Lawrence, he's gonna throw a lot, but the thing is that people don't talk about Trevor Lawrence is he had 5 rushing touchdowns last year. He's got sneaky rushing upside, and I would say even Herbert's got a little, can get a little hidden yardage in there. But another thing with Herbert though is with Kellen Moore going over there, I just think I mean, they're about to go swing the rock. So that's
Yeah.
my pocket right there. Deshaun Watson, if you really believe this dude could be, I mean, I'm high on Deshaun Watson, but I'm not even going to rank him in like the top 5 or anything like that. But if you believe that, heck, if you're drafting him in the late 7th round, I mean, you can win your leagues just doing that.
He's not in my top 12, so.
Were you just a hater?
Just saying, he's not in my top 12.
But heck, the reason why I even wanted to throw Tua in there is because Tua was like in the top 5 when he was healthy and throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, I remember us. I can't say it off the top of my head, but I remember us, and maybe even Dick Blow was on the pod, and we were sitting here comparing Tua to some of these top guys at the moment before it all kind of went downhill concussion wise. That's the reason why I want to throw his name in there. But hell,
And
if you
he
think Daniel
can
Jones is
do it.
going to throw, I mean, I don't know. But what about Daniel Jones? What if they just start throwing He just starts throwing touchdowns.
Daniel
He can
Jones
get up there.
he's one of them later round quarterbacks that he's the criteria you want to finish top 5 at the QB position because of the rushing upside and the fact that his passing touchdown number could go up drastically if you like Daniel Jones, that is, which I'm kind of in between with him. I don't really love him that much. I don't think he's going to get 40 passing touchdowns or 35 passing touchdowns, but same thing with Fields. if Daniel Jones goes out there, puts up, 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, and still rushes for 800 yards, he's most likely going to be in the top 5 or very close at the QB position. So I guess a tip that I'm going to give myself when drafting and redraft this year is not just look at the player, but try to look at what I think the statistics that is reasonable that they could actually put up and where that would place them, in QB finishes. Because I don't want to be in a 12-man league and have the QB 12. It's not great. You got the worst quarterback in the league.
Right. So, real quick, the most common top player for these in PPR leagues obviously was wide receiver percentage wise. Like if you had a top wide receiver and they was your best player, you won a lot of leagues. Or I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Wide receivers are king in PPR. That's all I'm saying. I fucked up that.
Hey,
but
they ain't as good as you think they are.
But with that said, like that's why I'm saying if you draft those guys in that pocket, you could still go get your Christian McCaffreys and your Austin Eckler's. And I mean, heck, I said this before the thing. I for real think there's like 6 players that I'd be willing to take at the 101 this year. So like if I can get one of those guys right there, and then later on go get me a Fields and he throws for whatever the hell we were talking about, runs all those yards and he throws a bunch of touchdowns to DJ Moore and Mooney and all them.
He's the guy, but I liked him last year as a late round quarterback pick. I had Justin Fields in about every redraft league that I did as my second quarterback. And there's really not – this isn't me saying go get Anthony Richardson because he got rushing upside, but he's the only quarterback in this draft, in your redraft, that is going that late where you can have him as your second quarterback and just see, because this year – the bottom's kind of filled with a bunch of pocket passers who we kind of know who they are, like your Geno Smith, your Jared Goff, stuff like that. And you'll be lucky to get a QB 8 year out of one of them guys, but that's not really going to win your league.
Right. Well, that's basically all I really had as far as quarterback-wise. Like, I just sum it up real quick. This is from all the numbers that I crunched and from what I looked at. May not even be true. I might look at these numbers next year and just think of a whole different thing. But I'm just thinking, if you draft your quarterbacks at round 2 or 3, it can keep your team steady, or you can lose. I mean, fuck. I mean, if you drafted, like what we said, Justin Herbert last year, you lost. In 2018 or whatever, if you drafted like Drew Brees or Matt Ryan high or something like that, you probably lost. But if you can take one of these guys and a little bit lower, like I'm not saying super low. Because, I mean, back in the day, I'd be willing to go super low. I'm talking about, like, here's a guy right now, Matthew Stafford. I've been thinking about him all year. I'd be willing to take Matthew Stafford way deep in these drafts. But is he really going to win you your league? He could, but I would feel more confident.
You'd have to hit everywhere else. You'd have to hit everywhere else.
I would just feel like I'm maximizing my opportunity if I can get Fields, Herbert, or Lawrence right there. That's how I feel about this 2023 quarterback situation.
Yep, I've been targeting the same guys. And, well, did you put Lamar in there too? I think Lamar has
throw Lamar in there, man.
The capability of finishing as the overall quarterback 1.
Agreed.
Again, so that puts him up.
I just think I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but
his ADP is a little earlier. Not much.
That's what I was about to say. But yeah, I think it might be right above Justin Fields.
I think Burrow's like into the 3rd.
Oh, right.
And then
that's what I'm saying. Like
4th round.
Like, quick question. Like, are you willing to draft? I don't know if I'm willing to draft Joe Burrow at the end of the 3rd round like that. You know what I'm saying? But he's been steady. I mean, let's see. He was good as fuck these past 2 years. In 2022, he was drafted. Let's see. He was drafted as the QB4. He finished as the QB4. And, oh, heck, well, he finished as QB8 last year. And
year before.
He was just good last year. But what about this year? Into the 3rd. Are you drafting Joe Burrow? Because, see, to me, that's just a pass. Even if he does I could see him finish as a top 5 guy, but I think if I'm drafting somebody in the back of the 3rd round like that, I need him to be number 1. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, he still has that's one of the things that he could throw for 5,000 yards. He could have 40 touchdowns.
He
So
could.
he could end up being QB1. So I don't have no problem with it. I haven't been drafted in there just because I'm still a strong believer in Herbert. And with all his weapons back, I think that he has just as much capability as Joe Burrow does at finishing QB1. Because, I mean, Justin Herbert
Hey,
has a QB2 season in his past.
hey, people were, including myself, had him as a QB2 in Dynasty last year.
That could change
So,
again. I mean, if he comes out and has a great year and finishes top 5 this year, he'll be right back up there. We'll be talking
yeah.
about him and Burrow and Hurts all together grouped up again. It's just recency bias right
Yeah.
now. And I
A little
mean,
banged up last year. Shoot, the whole team was
everybody.
banged up. So, and last year was kind of fucked up anyways. I mean, Geno Smith. I'm not trying to hate on Daniel Jones, but he was up in there. Kirk Cousins was in the top 7. I mean, that happens because like guys like Kyler Murray fall out, getting hurt and stuff like that. But you know, last year was kind of fucked.
But yeah. Last year wasn't the best, but like we were saying, them QB, you can look at the numbers like QB7, QB12. They're not that much different in points scored. What's really different is when you draft that guy who in the 9th round that finishes as a QB1 or 2 or 3,
Right.
who is just excellent value because Joe Burrow got drafted as a QB4, like you said. He finished as a QB4. He did expectations, but he didn't win anybody leagues. He didn't. He just matched what his ADP was at that point. You just got what you expected.
Right. I'm trying to see just who was those quarterbacks that won your leagues last year. I mean, it really was guys like Geno Smith. I mean, he really wasn't even getting drafted in a lot of leagues.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins, I guess he was getting drafted as the QB15, hopped up in there. But like I said, man, these numbers were a little fucked up. With players going down and shit. But that's basically all I got for my little redraft question. I answered my question, and I'm gonna test it out this year. I will not be drafting high at QB, and I will try not to go late. And if I do go late, I'm getting Stafford, my guy. Try to get that Cooper Cup stack.
Getting Stafford. But we did a little thing where we were crunching some numbers before the episode. And I think the reason why quarterbacks, to answer your question, why they're going so early in the 2nd round of redraft right now is we went back to 2018 all the way till last year. And from Patrick Mahomes, who was the QB1, down to the QB12, I forget who finishes QB12, he outscored them on the year by 148 points, which averaged out to 10.5 points per week. That's the highest. That's the highest it's been in the last 4 or 5 years. So there's been a big difference when a quarterback puts up such a massive year like that. It does help you win your leagues when the space between the QB1 and the QB12 is that great, or the QB1 to QB6. If you get just top tier and then everything else is not even close, that's great. But like we went back one year, like 2020, it was only like 7 points per week. That's only helping you out from QB1 all the way down to QB12. So last year was just an outlier year, really.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why they're going so high.
That's why. I mean, like I was saying, I was thinking there's a little overcorrection on quarterbacks. Now I have seen the ADP and best ball. These guys are kind of falling back a little bit, but at first it was not like that. I mean, these guys were going super high. Heck, I even was guilty of it too. I mean, I've drafted a quarterback in the 2nd round. Late 2nd though. Felt icky, man. When you're doing 100 best balls, you might as well do it every now and then. Felt sick to my stomach doing that shit. But hey, I've been saying it for a while. I mean, I've been hitting on Herbert and Lawrence pretty much every time. So like, if they do bad this year, like I've got like 50 best balls that are about to go down the drain. So,
Are you gonna win all of them?
or I'm gonna win them all. Yep, exactly. Heck, it's like that with guys like Miles Sanders too. Like Miles Sanders ain't catching them passes. It's over with.
Yep.
But yep. But heck,
You got
Kraft
to
any
find your
more?
Josh Jacobs from last year, man. You got to find your Josh Jacobs from last year.
Got to. So Kraft, we got anything to say on these quarterbacks, man?
Not much, man. I know this episode was a little different than what we usually do. We dropped a lot of numbers at you, but I know some people like that stuff. A lot of people like that kind of stuff. It's not our typical episode, but we've been
Right.
talking about players and we go down the ADPs. We've hit on all that for a little while, so we decided we wanted to do a little just something different.
Yeah.
Try to help win some dynasty leagues without really getting into singular players on this episode.
It really it's like you said, like we do not crunch numbers like that all the time. But like if you don't, don't even just take our word for it. I mean, if you just disagree with every little thing we just said, then when you do your drafts, do the opposite of what me and Kraft just said. You know what I'm saying? Like if you really believe Will Levis and all these guys, Desmond Ritter could pan out, go do it. Like we're just sitting here trying to make sense of it all with these quarterbacks and diving deep into the numbers because we didn't know what we was gonna find. I just started. Heck, I didn't even know what I was looking for. I just thought of one question off of one best ball, and I was just thinking QBs are going real high right now. It didn't used to be like that. So,
yep, and I didn't know what I was looking for either. I didn't think going into it that there wasn't many good second round to seventh round quarterbacks that's played in the NFL, but it just surprised me, that number. It was such a small number. I was so intrigued. I told everybody about that, man. I was like, man, sell Desmond Ritter, sell Sam Howell, go get Stafford, get rid of these fools. They ain't gonna do anything. But I don't want to get too caught up in that because, like we always say, use the eye test. That's the number one goal. Use the eye test, and then you can fall back on some of these analytics. And if both of them don't check out, like for me personally, I thought Desmond Ritter looked like shit, and then I get these numbers telling me that the NFL doesn't really give second round quarterbacks a chance. It just tells me, it just validates it for me that I'm not getting Desmond Ritter anywhere. And if I did have him, I would try to sell him.
And for those of you all out there who think that Bill Belichick was just such a genius drafting Tom Brady in the 7th round or whatever, he's not. It was just full out luck. I mean, that's all I got to say. It was a shot in the dark, and he got lucky as fuck. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because I am the number one Bill Belichick hater around here. So
I know you are. But going back to this just real quick, in your rookie drafts, too, you can apply this to your rookie drafts when looking at draft capital for these quarterbacks. And maybe instead of wasting a second-round pick on a Hendon Hooker, maybe go grab somebody else. Or Will Levis at the end of the first round, maybe get somebody else. If
go get
you really
Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, if you're one of the numbers guys, and we dropped a lot of numbers for y'all today, so hopefully y'all liked it.
Yep. So with that said, thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for listening to this episode, and thanks for listening all summer. Been getting some more viewers this summer for sure. So 5-star review, it helps us out. You can add me on Twitter. I've been busy on the bird. You know how it is to go through different spurts where I don't even want to get on that shit at all. Then lately I've been on it a little bit. But you can add Craftman at Craftman Pack Fan. It's all in the description on the podcast. Check us out. Craft, anything to say before we clock out?
Man, nothing much. I think we're good.
All right, man, we out.
Peace.